Tonight, a new law in Indiana promoting religious freedom for business owners is being called discriminatory. Has Iran had a change of heart regarding a potential deal to delay their nuclear program? And a mentally unstable JetBlue pilot is suing the airline for allowing him to fly. Yeah, I can barely get the words out. I got that right. He is suing them. All that and much more tonight on the Daily Wrap. And welcome to the show, everybody. I'm Joe Concha with my co-host and the former executive producer and creator of Joni Loves Chachi. Wow! On ABC.
You enjoyed it, right? It was a great show.
I love
Well, you know.
It lasted 7 minutes, but it was a good idea.
It was a good 7 minutes.
I agree, it was. And that's Rick Unger, of course. We're also joined by power attorney Heather Hansen and Forbes.com contributor Bill Tucker. Let's get right to the Daily Download. And Hillary Clinton's email troubles continue to grow like Heather's inbox on a Monday morning. First, a report late Friday by her attorney, David Kendall, you've heard of him, that the Clinton mail servers have been wiped clean, which permanently deleted all of her personal emails. Mr. Kendall writing, and we quote, "I have confirmed with the Secretary's IT support," whoever that is, "that no emails from hdr22@clintonmail.com for the time period of January 21st, 2009 through February 1st, 2013 reside on the server or on any backup systems associated with the server." Not in the quote, nana, nana, nana. RNC President Reince Priebus told Fox News that Mrs. Clinton should have advised not to delete those emails.
There is a minimal threshold of transparency that government employees are subjected to. And so when someone issues an open records request to a department or when there's a lawsuit pending, usually there is an attorney internally that sends an email to the employee saying, do not destroy your emails.
And Mr. Priebus then compared Clinton to the one president in the last 40 years who no potential presidential candidate would ever want to be compared to.
It is customary. I'm sure lots of people watching this know what I'm talking about. And she didn't do it. Sure. And so that's why I'm saying even Nixon didn't destroy the tapes. There are thousands and thousands of emails that are missing.
18 minutes, I believe, was the amount of minutes that Nixon destroyed. And that was Steve Ducey, by the way. He's my neighbor. And that's a story for another time. Obviously, this story is growing, but at this point, we're still there's not any big drop in the polls for the former Secretary of State in hypothetical matchups, according to a recent CNN ORC poll. Still don't know what ORC stands for. She's beating Florida Governor Jeb Bush, Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker, and New Jersey Governor Chris Christie 55 to 40%. Former Arkansas Governor Mike Huckabee, 55 to 41%, beating Rubio, 55 to 42. You're getting the idea. Rand Paul, 54, 43. Ben Carson, 56 to 40. For whatever reason, John Kasich not worthy enough to throw into that poll. Fools. Anyway, more polls to share, including this one from CBS that finds about 2/3 of those polled saying the email scandal did not change their opinion of Mrs. Clinton. About 29% saying their opinion worsened. About half of Republicans said that their opinion worsened, but really couldn't get any worse. But here's an interesting number. 28% of independents said it did actually get worse. And that's not a small number. So, Rick, obviously these polls are somewhat encouraging for Mrs. Clinton. You have that omnipotent look on your face right now, which tells me you're going to say, see, nothing to see here. This is a nothing
Well,
burger.
look, there actually is something to see. But what ruins the something to see is when people like Reince Priebus goes out there and fabricates things. Number one, you only have an obligation to protect emails as evidence when you know that it might be evidence. Nobody knows when those emails were destroyed. Now, I don't think they should have been destroyed. If they were destroyed after she received a subpoena, then he's right. If they were destroyed after she knew or had a reasonably good idea that there could be a legal action, he's right. But they may have been destroyed a year ago. So he shouldn't be saying things like that. Now, as far as the polls go, yeah, big shock. Like the country really cares about this. No, they don't deal with it unless there's something criminal filed against her. And by the way, I can't see where there's anything criminal that could be alleged against her. this is not going to be what you want it to
You're
be.
shaking your head violently in agreement.
Well, what I do agree that it is not a big deal yet. And until it's a big deal, I think that people should stop focusing on it. But I talked to someone who's a consultant for Navigant. She's an electronic discovery consultant. And her name's Karen Lupus. She told me that these things are not lost forever. It's not like tapes where you erase those tapes and then they're gone. They can live on different servers. They can live in different places. And so if I were the lawyer on the other side of any of these lawsuits against her, I would be even more motivated to get those things.
How would you do it, though?
Well, you hire someone like this girl Karen. She works for this company, and that's what they do. That's what they do all day. There's
Does she
metadata.
get it off the server? Or
Well,
does
you
she-
don't get it off the server. You often get it off of disaster recovery servers. You get it off of other people's emails. There's a whole way
You have to
that
know
they
who
can
those
do that.
people are.
Well, and you have to have the access. You can't just subpoena everyone in the world, and that's where there may be some problems.
But you can get it off the server, because I had a woman who worked for me at one point, and she was fired. In the due process of cleaning out her desk, she decided to wipe the disk on her computer, and she did. And a lot of data had to be recovered. Came off the hard disk. It does live. It lives on.
How much
But
do you want to
I'm
bet
laughing
that hard
because I'm
disk
thinking
is
that's
gone?
going to
It's
disappear.
gone.
That
It's all
hard
gone.
disk is gone. If you know
doesn't
that,
exist.
she knew that.
I know we're all laughing, but wasn't this the wanton destruction of government property in essence? I mean, am I
No.
missing
No, it's
something?
her property.
It's her
It was her
property.
property. But you know what?
But
Joe?
it's State Department email though on that property.
She turned those over, she says. So you can't allege that she didn't.
It's going to
Well,
be
you can
difficult.
allege it, but you certainly can't prove it.
I just don't know how they went through 30,000 emails that quickly. Personal, private, personal, private. Who did that?
With search words. They use search words. And the problem really, in my mind, is the administration not having better rules. Not saying to her, don't destroy your server at this point. Not having an inspector general in place the entire time that she was there. These things set her up to be able to do what she did. Was that on purpose, or was it just a coincidence?
What was the I'm sorry, one second, Bill. What was the turning point when Marie Harper, I'm sorry, it was Jen Psaki, came forward and said Secretary Rice and Secretary Powell also didn't sign that form?
I don't think there ever was a turning point. I honestly don't, and I think you know that I've been pretty consistent about this. This is the kind of story that gets people like us very involved. It gets inside the Beltway very involved. And by the way, if you're annoyed at Hillary for doing this, I feel your pain. I'm annoyed too. It's wrong. Shouldn't have happened. It did happen, or apparently it did happen, and you can't expect Americans who have other things on their mind to stress out over this unless, as Heather pointed out, something big comes from this down the road. No.
Bill, last word.
The bigger problem is nobody cares. She can do
I
it
don't.
because she can do it, and nobody cares, and she'll get away with it. Everything else aside.
Heather, last word. If this were a Republican, would this have been a bigger problem?
I think if it wasn't Hillary, it would be a bigger problem. It's Hillary.
Right. And on that note, it's Joe saying, coming up next, is Iran not keeping their word about a possible nuke deal? This is the Daily Wrap only on Newsmax.